few days ago, Heart Machine released the preview build for Hyperlight Drifter to its Kickstarter backers, and I was so impressed by it that I felt compelled to make a video. Now, obviously it would be rather absurd to review an unfinished game, but all the same, what's here is such a complete, however small game in its own right that it deserves to be discussed. Hyperlight Drifter blends atmospheric exploration with fast-paced but weighty combat. The Drifter has a set of abilities that combine well to allow for a lot of flexibility in a fight. A dash move provides high mobility, while sword strikes require a moment to recover. The two can be combined for a piercing strike that pushes enemies back. If you hold down the sword button after an attack, the Drifter charges and executes a swing with a wider arc to hit enemies all around you. The sword is also capable of deflecting enemies' gunfire back at them and slicing rockets out of the air when properly timed. Then there are the weapons which you can find as you explore. A pistol, a kind of shotgun that fires in a spread, a precision rifle that charges up and deals heavy damage to a single target, and bombs that can be guided remotely. Each of these weapons consumes a recharging power bar that can be quickly boosted by breaking blue boxes and picking up the items inside. Weapons can be aimed from a standstill or fired quickly on the fly during a fight. Regularly using individual weapons or melee strikes builds a meter towards temporarily more powerful attacks. For example, the sword gets 3 hits that do greatly increased damage, and the pistol will fire a few rapid bursts. The dash is frequently used to jaunt between platforms. Falling, or losing all of your health, brings you back to the entrance of a room, resetting its enemies and power-ups. Some of the most exciting fights in the preview build take place on precarious terrain, forcing you to dart nimbly across gaps or onto small platforms when you need to retreat. The mechanics have an intelligent nuance to them, such as the dash, which requires precise timing to perform chains. Hyperlight Drifter seems like it's going to be the kind of game where you will still discover new things about your moveset even on your 3rd time through. Enemies telegraph their attacks enough for your mobility to represent an advantage, but at the same time, you have to be deliberate in your actions and choose your openings carefully. The combat in general is simultaneously quick and heavy. It feels very good, and the versatility creates a high skill ceiling. Despite its purpose as a demo, this preview build has a beautiful circular structure that can be appreciated all on its own. It teases you from the outset with locked doors, letting you know what your goal will be as you move forward. After you have collected the 4 keys needed to open the main door, a lift returns you to the starting area, and that door then loops back around to the very first screen, effectively resetting the demo so that you can replay it repeatedly as you look for the much more numerous and hidden keys for the other bonus door. You can check your progress at any time by pressing the right bumper, which brings up a display of your collected keys projected by the tiny droid called the Sprite that hovers by your side at all times. It's a useful companion, darting forth to highlight new weapons lying on the ground, displaying a warning when you are low on health, saving checkpoints, and opening all the doors that you come across. Speaking of those doors, they're a clever gating mechanism because they require you to be stationary on the door switch for a few moments, which ensures that you finish your fights so that you aren't attacked while waiting. In a lesser game, the doors would magically activate once all of your enemies had been dispatched, but Heart Machine came up with something smarter and less artificial than that, and the mechanism also contributes to the world design. The elements of the game's interface don't explain themselves, but can be intuited as you play and think about how your capabilities might be reflected in the symbols and indicators. When you first start playing, you try a few buttons and discover the 2 key screens, as well as the pop-up that shows your health, recharging weapon power, and the bar for the weapon's progress towards special attacks. I like the design of all of these elements and enjoyed wondering what they were each for. Technology in the game feels great in general due to the combination of well-designed pixel art and sound effects that help it to pop, and the abstract appearance of the interface contributes to the arcane feel of the world long after the player has learned to read it. It does not become boring once it has become understood and useful. The demo takes place in some kind of sinister laboratory filled with glass jars and tanks containing parts of organisms suspended in red liquid. But this facility seems to have been built atop or within an otherwise peaceful ruin that's slowly being reclaimed by nature. Remnants of an ancient civilization are evident, such as slabs with language clearly visible on them, and large stone heads half buried in the dirt and tile. Hyper Light Drifter features ambient music that gradually, seamlessly builds from one room to the next. The soundtrack by Disaster Piece is beautiful and rich with lovely electronic timbres, and I love the way it's been implemented in the game, as if the entire preview build is one piece of music, but the player is always listening to something different. It's like a post-rock video game. There were rooms in which I noticed it changing. For example, when new bass appeared to underline the drama of my discovery as I came across a huge vat containing a giant eyeball, but the transformation is always subtle and organic. It really encapsulates how remarkably assured and whole this build of the game seems. This half-hour preview, with its replayable circular structure and many secrets, could have been released as a finished game. It's so good that I'd have been pretty much alright with that. Yet the real game is going to span a comparatively massive world and feature all kinds of equipment and upgradable abilities, towns and other RPG elements, and a sizable story with a New Game Plus mode and an alternate character. You can be very excited about Hyper Light Drifter.